Welcome to the Ron and John Show, brought to you by Veterans Lending Group, and I'm Ron.
And I am John. This is the Ron and John Show. Hey, at the Ron and John Show, we're known coast to coast like butter and toast. We can make ISIS surrender or die, or make even the nerdiest guy look kind of fly. We can drink like we've been singing all night long, and we can sing like we've been drinking all night long. So if you're looking for a good time, don't you delay. Tune into the Ron and John Show. Me and this Ranger, we lead the way. Boom!
Hey.
There we are.
And we're back. Welcome back to another Ron and John Show, and I'm Ron.
And I am John, and you are watching the Ron and John Show, brought to you by Veterans Lending Group. What's going on, brother? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, brher. Oh, man.
And, I was looking at the shirt you got on, dude. I thought you were wearing a Marine Corps shirt there for a second, you know. I was like, what's up? You got around Stalker, and all of a sudden you got the Stockholm Syndrome now? Or?
Oh, Twinkle Toes? No. This is old Deadhead Daiquiri, you know, because we don't do that anymore.
Oh, yeah. Awesome, man.
Yeah, it was from a veteran-owned company called American Trigger Puller, so I had to kind of rep that here a little bit. So yeah, brother. So what's been good in your hood? What's been going on with you lately?
You know the deal, man. Busy as ever. Supporting a lot of events that support veterans and everything. You know, happy belated Veterans Day to you.
You as well, brother. Yeah, thank you for your service.
But you know, I had the unique privilege on Veterans Day. You know, we had John Schneider on. You know, a couple weeks ago. You know, the general manager of the Seahawks. And then on Veterans Day, I had an opportunity through hiring our heroes in Toyota to join 4 of the Philadelphia Eagles football players for a virtual VA medical center visit in Philadelphia. And it was just a phenomenal event, you know. And we had Boston Scott, Wes Parks, Lane Johnson, and Brett Toth. And it was just awesome. But, you know, seeing the look on these veterans' faces and how excited they were when they got to talk to these NFL football players. You know, as you know, man, we grow up as fans of the sport, and we watch these high caliber athletes on TV, and they're these larger than life figures. And then when you get them, you know, on a camera and they start talking to veterans, and they are just like the person that lives next door, you know, or that might be in the next dormitory in the VA medical center. And they are just down to earth, great people who absolutely love their community and want to continue to give back. And again, every day is a proud day to be an American for me. But again, that day I was even more proud to be an American, seeing that combination between the VA, our veterans, and professional sports, man. So it was a good event.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, I on my Veterans Day, I hung out. I chilled out. I got a hold of a bunch of buddies. I broke my No Fun November and had a beer with a buddy here down the road, but just enjoyed the day. And I think collectively, it's a lot of veterans that are showing in their service because they're proud of their service, and there's a reason to be. And that's a rising tide lifts all ships, and I think that it's been gaining steam over the years, brother. You know, I mean, it didn't used to be this way, you know, but to see that, and then we're also talking about, you know, just the community, like you're saying, and that integration, and it's awesome, and it especially, you know, these larger than life football players or athletes or whoever it is. It's when it comes down to it, it's, you know what, we're all there. We're the same, you know, in a lot of ways. There's a lot of similarities, and it's fun to see.
Yeah, and we talked about this before, Ron. The similarities between military service and being a professional athlete, not only the physical part of it, but the mental and emotional part, and then the toll that it can take in terms of traumatic brain injury or just other injuries that a retired athlete, a retired football player will have to deal with the rest of their life. There's so many similarities that it's incredible. Now, you know, not to be a party pooper here today, but, you know, 4 weeks ago we had John Schneider on. Yes. You know, the general manager of the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seahawks were 5-0 when John came on the show.
Right.
And since John came on the show, they've lost 3 of 4. I don't think we gave him any bad juju, or the Seahawks gave him any bad juju. But let's hope our guest tonight, will get them on the other end.
We can turn it around.
Yeah, they can turn it around. So,
absolutely.
If you don't mind, man, I'd like to run down a little bit of this guy's bio. He is just a phenomenal person. So our guest tonight is a former American football player. He played in the National Football League. He is a former Seattle Seahawk. He graduated from the University of Southern California, and he was drafted by the Seahawks in the second round of the 2005 NFL Draft. As a matter of fact, I was a striker brigade sergeant major right here at Joint Base Lewis McChord when he got drafted by the Seahawks. He, in his first 3 seasons, 2005, 6, and 7, he went to 3 consecutive Pro Bowls. And in 2007, he was a All-Pro first teamer. And, and then, the injury bug kind of hit him a little bit, and we're going to ask him about that, which in any profession, when that starts hitting you, and you're trying to stay at the top of your game, it's tough. And then, a few years later, he retired. He went into coaching with the Seahawks for a couple of years. And since then, he's opened up his own company. Let me make sure I get the name right here. It is Zone In CBD. And as we know, a lot of veterans and military members and military family members will use CBD as part of treatment and everything like that. So, right. And the other thing I like is this: he is a second-generation NFL football player. I used to watch his dad when he played for the New England Patriots. I'm talking way back in the day, man, back when I was a youngster and everything in the military. So without further ado, how about you introduce him, Ron?
Well, welcome, Lofa Tatupu.
Boom!
Go Hawks! Hey, boom! There he is.
How you doing, fellas?
When he first came on, we had to throw them guns out. Let's see them guns out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you for your service, Ron and John, and appreciate you having me. And that's got to be the first time anybody's ever called me large in description, larger than life, because everybody called me small for middle linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, 5'11" and some change. I would say sometimes you're looking at the defensive tackle, the back of their heads, sometimes as you're trying to find out who's got the ball, huh?
Yeah, that's where it comes down to instincts. Luckily, I was blessed with instinct.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. It's truly an honor for us to have you here today. And, you heard me, I'm sure, that we had, John Schneider on, and the Seahawks were 5-0. And since John's been on the show, things haven't gone so bad. They've lost 3 or 4. So hopefully having you on here tonight will get us a win streak going, and get that thing turned around here right quick.
Yeah, we'll reverse that juju. We'll get it. I can't wait for that game tonight. The big one.
Absolutely, yeah. But Lofa, you're a second-generation NFL football player, and as I was saying in the dialogue, I used to watch your dad play. Back in the day. And so at an early age, was it kind of, in the military sometimes, when someone serves like me, I served 38 years, you groom your children to follow in your footsteps. Was that kind of the way that your dad brought you up, that that he wanted you to be an NFL player too?
It's funny that you say that, because it wasn't my dad. It was actually my mom.
Oh, wow.
And her side of the family has heavy connections to military. Her dad was a Marine, and her mom's Air Force, and a couple of her brothers are Marines, and a couple of my uncles are Marines. So she knew what hard work looked like, and so she kind of helped my dad in his career in terms of getting in the weight room, because there was not a lot of guys taking advantage of the weights back then as they are now. Now it seems like every high school, every junior high has a weight room, and so when I told her that at 7 years old, when I watched my dad play for the first time, I said, I want to be a professional football player. I'm going to be when I grow up. And she looked me in the eye. She goes, I know you will, baby. And but even though that wasn't proven to me, given, my lack of height, weight, and speed, and then even offers coming out of high school. I didn't have many offers, but she showed me, and so did my dad, hard work. He actually probably cultivated the skills and the hard work and the regiment, so to speak, towards working towards that dream since I was 7 years old.
Wow.
Since you were 7 years old. Wow.
I knew when I was 7, I just, they always told me dream big. I saw what my future was going to be when I watched my play, and I couldn't wait. And so it was a passion of mine, and I followed it all the way. It took me, had to wait 17 years, right?
Right.
But, it was a great lesson in patience. But it was incredible journey.
Yeah. So what was it like, in that draft pick when you're walking across that stage? I mean, do you know, first off, when you're going in there, is it just that moment? I mean, I'm sure it's intense, right?
Yeah. And I want to be as humble as I can when answering. But I was a little upset that I was a second-round pick. And
right. Who wouldn't be?
Again, I had dreamed
competitive, that's
what it is. And almost like a young girl dreams of her wedding day, I dreamt of draft day since I was 7 years old. I used to watch the draft every year. I had notebooks of players that I loved and I knew were going to be great players. Like Thurman Thomas was my favorite running back. And I knew when I watched him at Oklahoma State that he was going to be a Hall of Famer. And so it's just, I went through that process every year until I finally got to be drafted. And it was incredible. It's a dream come true. I was surrounded by my family. We were in Oceanside, California, at one of my dad's friend's house, and we had a big party. And it was just, because everyone was saying I wasn't going to get drafted. All the draft experts, they had me as a 5th, 6th round pick. Seattle took a lot of heat when they traded up to get me in the 2nd round. And so, there were no feelings or emotions of like, I made it. It was like, all right, it's time to go to work. And
you sure did, man. I mean, that's just a follow-on question is that what fueled you just, tearing it up as soon as you hit the field, man? You hit the ground running as soon as you got on the team.
I mean, I was blessed to be in a great situation. Anybody, that finds success, they know it's all about the team. And, I came to an incredible fan base. Mike Holmgren, one of the all-time legend coaches. And, it was a very, they always said we didn't have a lot of big names, but we had guys that loved playing football and they loved playing for each other. And so you're going to find success when you have a tight-knit group like that. And, I guess I stepped in rather seamlessly because of all the coaching I had over the years. Of course, Pete in college, coming off those 2 national titles. But then, I had the vision since I was 7. I would go to the field with my dad. I would go into the locker room. I'd be in the weight room. I'd see it. So when I hit that in the NFL, it was not my first time. It was not new to me. And I think that was a big advantage that really helped me progress that quickly.
Hey, so Lofa, Ron brought up that you hit the ground running. Let's go back to the Monday Night Football game, against Seattle. Against Philadelphia. I wish I would have had this information when I was, with the Eagles last week. Of course, some of those guys were in diapers back then, but 42-0 win. You had 4 sacks, 3 interceptions. You returned 1 for a touchdown. You did everything that night but win the lottery, man. Explain when you are on your game like that and you're in a rhythm and things are going well. What's it like that? In the moment.
You're in the zone, and everybody knows about the zone, right?
Absolutely.
It's total enjoyment and being fully immersed in that moment. And, it's flow state. You can't do wrong. You can't miss. I was reacting rather than over anticipating because, that was really my gift of all gifts I had in the game was a high processor, a fast processor. I could see things before they were going to do them, and I could alert my teammates, and that's what really was my value add to the team. But I mean, I run through a gap as soon as I saw it was just simple reactionary, and any athlete, any musician, any gamer or any coder, they know about their best performance where things were effortless. You know, it's just coming to you. The game's coming to you. I took a step to my right and I end up with one of the interceptions. I go left, I get a sack. I run through an A gap and I get a tackle for a loss. It's like you never want it to end. You don't want that moment to end. And so it was incredible to have that game.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then as you progressed with the team, when did things start to kind of change as far as like John says, the injury bug, kind of pop up?
Yeah, I mean, in football, I only played 6 years. I had about 10 surgeries, 8 in those 6 years, and 15 concussions, 15 plus concussions. Wow. And I'll say right now, I'll take a surgery again before I take any more concussions, man. The TBIs and then, the cognitive deficit you go through with even the slightest of concussion is just it's not good. And so, I had been getting concussions probably since college. I had a couple in college that were pretty big. And then, had a big one. It was seemingly like I'd have 3 a year, and that it was just 15 that got diagnosed. So, and so with that, I really believe that led to a, detachment in the mind muscle connection that all athletes know. And it's, I remember being in one game where I'm calling out, it's a toss left, and my left leg wouldn't move. And I was just like looking down there, like, yo, we got to go.
Yeah, right.
I have to laugh now because I feel like I've healed that trauma. But at the moment, it was scary. It was like, man, like, what is going on? Like, I'm still eating right. I'm still taking care of myself. But, it's not coming as natural. It's almost forced now. And then I remember one big hit. I got dizzy, and I seeing some stars. But then this was 2007. I couldn't see, but like it was like looking out of a scope. It was like a black dot. Like say if you look at the sun or a light, and then you look at something and try to focus on it. Yeah. There's just a blurred spot, and it turned out I got it checked out when I was done playing because I didn't want them to tell me I can't play anymore. That was my biggest fear, and so I played the next 4 years with it. This happened 2007. I played until 2011 with it, and I got it checked out in 12, and it was fluid in my macula, and which has luckily since decreased. And I got to believe that's from the concussions and the repeated head trauma.
Yeah, we talk all the time, Lofa, about the similarities between serving in the military and then being a professional athlete in terms of you've got to be at the top of your game all the time. And you're only one injury away from potentially being out of a job. How does the mental and emotional stress that you have as a pro athlete and being on a team and you wanting to be in your A game and wanting to be that productive member, how stressful can that be throughout the season and throughout a career for a player, especially those that might be, at the far end of the 53 on the roster and everything? How stressful can that be, not only on the player, but families as well?
Oh, man, it takes a toll mentally, obviously physically, but emotionally too. And, you don't realize until you finally take a step back and, get out of the game to, get out of the eye of the storm, if you will, because it's just your norm at the time. And you're just like, no, this is what I'm wired to do. I'm going to I'm going to rehabilitate, and I'm going to get back out there as soon as I can and be with my team. And for me, the hardest part was not me going through any injury. Shit happens. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Let it fly.
Yeah. No, I was just getting into it because I was going back to those moments. Just shit happens. It's how you deal with it, right? What are we going to do to get now? How do we best maneuver what just took place? you can't give energy or time to feeling sorry for yourself, even though like something pretty serious just happened, especially with the concussions. You got to push forward, and you just got to start developing a plan on how to do it. And so, luckily I had a lot of help. I don't think anybody does anything without any help. And so I'm always grateful for all the support I've ever had, whether it's friends, family, the medical staff that was with me at any school or organization. And you lay out a plan and you just attack it as hard as you can. And but like I said, the hardest part for me was not being there for my guys, and because I felt like I had let them down. And I was lucky to be a captain. I played 6 years. I was captain all 6 years, and that was the biggest honor over all the Pro Bowls, the Super Bowl. That was the greatest honor I'll ever claim in my career.
Yeah, man. Like it is crazy, the parallels. Just that feeling of wanting to get back to the squad, getting back out to the fight, getting back on the field. And the family seeing you and saying, we want you to do that too. But no, despite of that, we still move forward. Now, when your time came to an end with the Seahawks, what was that first transition like, going from the Seahawks and transitioning to a whole new team? Yeah,
well, so I mean, it was unfortunate. I gave everything I had, and it just the business aspect of it. And I understand if you're not able to perform, it's they got to move on. And so that's the tough part, especially emotionally. You're tied to the city, you love it, always have love for Seattle, but now you got to do what's best for you and your family. And even I had that year. I got released in 11, and so a couple of teams were reaching out to me, and they wanted me to play outside backer, and I had never played outside backer. And I knew that in my mind, I was like, okay, I know I can do it, but if I didn't give adequate time to learn the playbook and know my responsibilities out there, I'm not going to be doing them justice or myself. I don't want people to remember me as just, oh man, he's just trying to hang on. And what I'm saying? I want to go out on my terms. And we don't always get to do that. But I was blessed with another opportunity because I stayed in shape, and I felt like I had recovered from some of those hits in 11, and I signed with the Falcons in 12. And you just got to go back in and earn your respect, one day at a time, one relationship at a time. And I was just blessed with the opportunity. And unfortunately, again, I got to believe because of that mind-muscle connection, I tore my pec on the other side, and I still had some offers that next year, but it was just like, at that point, it was like, you have to talk to the family and you have to be real with, quality of life after. And at 30 years old, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be fine. And, but it's not always the case. And so I've stopped playing ball after that, which, it's incredibly hard. It's so hard. I didn't even turn in my retirement paper. I just told my agent, I was like, because I don't want to quit anything. I don't want to be. That's what I told my mom and my agent. I was like, they're like, did you send in your papers? And I was like, nah, because I'm not a quitter. They just fired me. I can live with that.
Yeah. So then, Lofa, you came back, you signed with the Seahawks and coached for a couple years. So how did that come about, and what was that like?
Well, it's that transition, right, that we're talking about. What do you do now? And I just know I was always taught by both my parents is that whatever you do, do it to your best ability, but you better find something that you love. I love football. I mean, I can talk football. I can watch football all day. I don't care if it's like Pop Warner, if it's kids, if it's high school, I'll watch it if it's on TV over any other thing out there. And so when you have that kind of passion for something, it just seemed like the easiest choice in terms of, I was lucky that I put in enough work where I was afforded another opportunity, right? And then making the most. So I went in as an assistant coach And I don't know how good I was because Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright were already the best linebackers in the game. So I just want to say thank you for them letting me coach him. But But it was a great 2 years. I learned a lot, made a lot of great relationships. I think the best part of it was, you feel like it's home again. And that's the part that's missing when you leave the game. All they ever talk about is, oh man, I miss the locker room, I miss the guys, I miss the laughs, all the stupid stuff that happened and that we just, still remember. Of course, you miss game day, you miss that challenge, because you miss all that. But just being around your guys and knowing that you're all going through it together. And I think that's the toughest part when we go our separate ways after the game, the transition. So my advice is always, to follow your passion. And that led me to football, back out here coaching.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then obviously from, we got a question here from Jake Tozier. Jake from Bunker Labs. He says, how does your experience from the NFL transfer to your new role as an entrepreneur, starting and growing Zone In? Great segue.
It was. Well, I guess, the parallel really is that when I was coaching out here, medical and cannabis had started to become a bigger thing, right? And then recreational even got passed too. And so I got into the industry. I bought some property with one of my former teammates, and I was like, if we're going to learn anything, let's learn something new. And so we did some lending and on the real estate side, and then eventually we took over one of the properties and actually built out the business, a grow operation of cannabis. It's called 1937 Farms. If you're out here in Washington in the I-502 industry, so recreational cannabis, that is. And while I was in that, well, first of all, I stepped away from coaching because I have 2 kids, and they're 9 and 6 now. But at the time, my youngest, he was maybe 3, and I was coming home, and I was, maybe a little irritated working a 14, 16-hour day, because that's what you do as an assistant coach. They work hard, and I was, maybe a little short-tempered with him. Still didn't feel like my best health was there. I was 275 pounds. And
wow.
And I'm yelling at this little dude, and he's like, yo, man, I don't even know who you are. Like, I can see the They're like, yo, who are you? And because I was away so much. And I was like, yo, this is the only time I'll ever have, because in another couple short years, they'll be off to college. They'll be off to it. They won't have time for dad. I mean,
that's right.
Just like when we grew up, we're like, I'll hang out with you when I hang out with you. So I left football and I got into the industry with my buddy, Matt McCoy. And we started growing our own brand. And even though I didn't really use or consume cannabis, I believed in it because it was helping so many people. I had people tell us, hey, we love your product, and it's helping my grandma. It's helping me. And I was like, wow, it's incredible. And I started doing more research, and I started to hear more about CBD rather than THC. And so from there, Jake, I decided to, spawn off a new company, because I did all this R&D. I mean, reading every book and, article I could on CBD and the benefits. And it was just all these stories and testimonials about how their lives were changing, because the first time I heard about it was 2012. And it was the young lady, Charlotte Figge, in Charlotte's Web, the strain that was helping her with epilepsy. Well, I didn't put it together how it could help me.
Yeah.
But you got to believe that's a mind-muscle connection, right?
Yeah.
On there. And so, with what was going on with my eye, with being, all the inflammation that was going on in my body, and being way overweight, not being able to work out anymore, lack of concentration, lack of, it was just a whole laundry list of things that I was going through, and especially the cognitive piece from the concussions, that I was like, I'm going to give it a try. And so I started getting all these products, and I started just writing down, in a journal, just like, hey, did I feel anything? Was anything different today? And it got to the point where I just almost gave up hope. And then I stopped journaling, because I just was like, I'm going to take this, but I haven't felt any changes.
Yeah.
And then I came across one that was full spectrum oil, which means the whole plant extract, which is why, because a lot of people are like, oh, I took CBD, it didn't do anything. Well, if you just take that isolated compound, it might not, it's going to have a limited benefit to you.
Yeah.
You get the full spectrum oil, which is all the terpenes, all the flavonoids, all the phytocannabinoids, which is just a fancy word for plant compounds. That all works in unison with our endocannabinoid system, and it responds to our cell receptors in our brain and all throughout our body, CD1 and CB2. I'm telling you, within days, I started feeling better than I ever felt. And now I wasn't in the best of health. It's 275, so I was 40 pounds overweight. Right now I'm 235. I've held this weight since 2016. So it's not just a trend or, it's an actual lifestyle. It's gone through a full lifestyle change. And, they say, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, I'm learning them every day. And so that's how it's helped me in my entrepreneurial life too. Because I used to have those barricades or those blocks, those mental blocks where I was like, as confident as I was as a football player, that was not who I was as a businessman. But that's all changed with, my perspective and mindset shift due to CBD.
Yeah. So Lofa, prior to the CBD, were you on a lot of medication to, anti-inflammatories, pain relief, and all this stuff? And then once you got on the CBD, did that kind of reduce you from being on pharmaceuticals?
Well, the anti-inflammatories, prescription pain meds, sleep meds were the biggest, whether it was Tylenol PM or actually Ambien and all the other stuff that I was prescribed. I couldn't go to sleep or stay asleep. And we know how important sleep is in our recovery.
Absolutely.
I don't take any of that stuff anymore. And I just take Zone In CBD. You see, that's our logo and everything. First of all, the first thing I noticed was my mood started to stabilize. No more up and down, no more peaks and valleys. It was like, that happened. So what? We're going to be all right. Then I started noticing I didn't need a nap during the day because my battery was fully charged at night from a great night's rest. As soon as my head hit that pillow, I was out for like 6-7 hours. And I was up where I was always a person that struggled. I have sleep apnea. Did find that out too.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know how terrible that is. Like, so to everybody that, hasn't got a sleep study that's listening to this right now, if you go to sleep, like if you have a full day, you go to sleep and you don't wake up like eyes open, like we did when we were kids, ready to attack the day, it's due to horrible sleep. And it doesn't matter how many hours, it matters the quality of sleep. And so while I was usually getting 8 to 10 and trying to stay in bed, like I was like, I didn't want to face the day. I was like, I don't feel like I'm ready to get out there and attack the day. And that was different than I had been my whole life. And so even in high school, when you have all that, when your natural HGH and testosterone's going, right, you're growing still. And so you have all this energy. I still had such poor sleep that I was like, I used to skip breakfast. I was inadvertently intermittent fasting without knowing it. But so with the mood and then the sleep and then waking up and actually feeling just more focused and my short-term memory coming back, which was, my wife couldn't believe. I couldn't either. It just started this whole lifestyle change of going back to the gym. The inflammation was down on my knees to the point I got all the way back. I'm dunking a basketball again. I haven't done that since I was 19. So,
wow. Not bad for an undersized linebacker.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane how in tune or zoned in on life and like how food, anything you consume, whether we're talking about food, whether we're talking about drink, media, everything you take in, it has an effect on your overall wellness. And and I just started like realizing it. And even the music that I listened to started to change just by It was like a whole new perspective, and I couldn't be more grateful. So when the hemp bill passed in 2018, I turned around and I started Zone In CBD to try to help as many people experience what I have. You know, a lifestyle change at 35 years old, that doesn't happen often. Usually it happens because someone has a scare, right? Like, oh, had a stroke, or I had a, luckily I didn't have that. I had a lot of, things not going well in terms of mentally, physically, and emotionally, but I didn't have the scare. It just happened.
Yeah.
Well, now with Zone In, and I mean, and all these benefits, and we obviously talked about the parallels. Do you have many veteran clients, and is that something that that you work with other with anything with like the VA or
we're still,
what's your reach there?
Literally, it's like a team of 3 or 4 of us, and I hate excuses. I'm not trying to make excuses, but we did just finally get an app or a plugin that attaches to our backend, so veterans do get a discount additionally on top of any program or discount we're running. They get an extra 15%, just to say thank you for all that they've done. But no, I'm open to collabing with any military programs that are out there. So I would love to get the information on how to do that, because like I say, all day, every day, it's from digital advertisements, even making the digital advertisements. I'm a part of conversations that I couldn't even comprehend. If you told me this like 5 years ago, a year prior to me starting my journey, I would be like, that sounds like a lot, man. But I would love to contribute, and I would love to be a part of any programs you guys have.
Yeah. So one of the things we found out in a hurry when after 9/11 and Afghanistan kicked off and Iraq kicked off, and service members started getting injured, spikes in PTSD, traumatic brain injury, and everything. And it was, pharmaceuticals were just, left and right were being handed out. And sometimes you had young men and women that would be on 27 different kinds of medicine. And at a certain point, in about 2010 and 11, we realized now we had a problem on our hands, because it was leading to further health problems. It was leading to suicide. It was leading to other things.
Addictions,
so now I think, the military is seeing themselves better by looking at alternatives like CBD and other things like that. So how can service members or veterans get more information on Zone In and CBD, Lofa?
At our website, zoneincbd.com. We've done everything as best as we possibly can. I wouldn't put my name on anything that I didn't fully believe in. That's why we only have 3 products. We have a muscle rub, when we have 2 ingestibles, a capsule and the dropper. The only difference between the dropper and the capsule is time release, I would say. So capsule tincture, the dropper goes underneath the tongue, and that's more faster acting. So we call it balance. And if you can see my shirt, it's the symbol. This is so you got the negative space Z right here.
Yeah.
And you got the 2 triangles. The deltas, or the symbol for change, the difference of. So some people need it to come down, some people need it to come up, and what they say is CBD brings you to balance, or homeostasis, and a state of balance within the cell. And so with that, what it does is really, we all respond differently to stress and our cortisol levels. So we're keeping that in check. Some of my natural inclinations or triggers of stress were to stress eat. That was one of the ways I coped. Sometimes drink, and then other times, chew tobacco. And I chewed tobacco for 17 years. And
wow.
The last 4 years.
Wow.
And so because the withdrawal, I tried to quit tobacco a bunch of times, but I was chewing since I was 15. I was like, this is just, it was like a 10 a day, especially sometimes more when I was coaching, just to stay awake. Right. It always felt like a stress relief. And, that eating 3 or 4 plates. So the CBD, keeping that stress regulated, now we can respond much more favorably to stress. We can, when we hear bad news, we're not going to just shut down or freak out, because everybody's different. Instance of that is I used to have really bad road rage, and I mean, a little embarrassing. I'm from the East Coast, and people drive crazy. But someone cuts you off or something, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna tail this dude, see if he wants to thank God I don't do that anymore. Because that's a direct response to stress. That is fight or flight. And,
right.
And now I can look at it objectively, like, oh, dude, I don't care. Go ahead, man. Yeah, flip me off. I hope you have a great day. It's not going to change my day. Whereas back 4 years ago, that could change my whole outcome of my day. One incident. And now, of course, we get bad and good news every day, but the trick is just staying in the zone and controlling what you can control and being your best.
Yeah. For a lot of our audience, there's a combination of obviously military veterans, first responders, and some of them that I've heard that are interested in CBD. One of their concerns is there THC in it because obviously for obvious reasons, testing and stuff like that. So does yours have many trace elements of THC, or how does all that work?
It is. It's full spectrum, meaning there is trace amounts of THC. Because of a legality issue, you're not allowed to say, nor should you, that you can't get a false positive. And that disclaimer is on our website. It is it's sad, but that's just where we're at, with the FDA and everybody, and federally. It is federally legal for everybody to take, but it always comes down to that screening, issue, right? I'll say that for the first 6 months when I did take this, like a couple of years ago now, I did take a urinary exam or whatever, the drug test, and there was none detected. And even on our COAs, it says COAs are certificate analysis, and that's to ensure that the correct amount of CBD and all other terpenes and flavonoids are in there. And it's also to ensure that heavy metals, pesticides, residual solvents are not in there, because there's been some bad players in the industry, and that's just the state of where we're at. So make sure you do check one that has COAs on their website, and they're just fully transparent. But yeah, I can't, you can't go out there saying, a lot of people are, they're saying, oh yeah, you take ours, you won't fail. You should not fail a drug test, but from a legal purpose, they're not protected. If they're out there saying that, and God forbid there was a tainted batch that they have, because if they don't provide certificate analysis, they are legally, held liable for that. And so I'm taking every precaution, and it's unfortunate that active duty can't take this because of that fear of that, because this has only made me, superhuman compared to who I was when I was. Why would you not want, your best, out there in terms of performance, stress-free, which I'd imagine is a very stressful job in what you guys do. So it's, but just with all the healing that it's brought to me, it's been my purpose. 3 years before I started zoning, so we just turned 1 year old a month ago yesterday. For 3 years, I was just buying, high quality, full spectrum oil and handing it out to all my friends, family. And I had some that were like, oh, I can't take it because of testing. And it's sad, because it's one thing for you to come back to life and be like, oh my God, everybody needs to know about this. But when you see somebody else, those lights turn on and their perspective shift, and them live a life that they never dreamed of, that's what it's all about. So that's why, I started zoning CBD, and it's my mission in life. Maybe everything happens for a reason. Maybe I was supposed to get all those surgeries and injuries to find this.
Yeah. So, you're watching the Ron and John show here, and Ron and I have 𝘸𝘏 TATUPU here, and 𝘸𝘏, you've kind of laid out what you're doing right now. And, you know, as Ron and I continue to get after assisting our veterans here and everything, I think your product is really needs to be in the veteran population now, because of the kind of challenges, all the things you described that you went through, and everything. Our veterans are going through the same thing, you know, and I'll talk to veterans almost every day that I served with in combat in 2008 in Iraq when they were 18 years old. And now here they are 30 years old. They have financial issues. They've got marital issues. They are abusing alcohol and they're abusing drugs. Their bodies are broke down, and trying to get them back on the right track. And I always tell them, physically, we got to get you there first. Okay. And that means we got to get you, you know, that you're feeling right, that you're moving and you're getting active. And you mentioned how you got up to 275 pounds. You know, how was that? That had to be leaning on you. You know, you're going from 235 to 275, man.
Yeah. And, you know, you're absolutely right, because I tried working out. I tried the diet. I tried, you know, to not drink when I felt stressed, or do anything that is not going to be good for my overall well-being. And it just didn't work. It was not sustainable. And so in developing a plan, the CBD, it really did it for me in terms of, and I got to believe that the way it's handled my stress, but also the way it managed the inflammation that I was going through. Because I remember upon taking it one day, I just felt like I had a great night's rest. I woke up and I looked at the clock and I still had 2 hours to go. And I was like, oh, yes. Like, I was so excited. I hit the clock, hit this, you know, I'm like, no, you know, I'll be back in 2 hours. And then, like, one eye opened and I was like, why am I not falling asleep? You know, usually it's just like I could barely see. And I remember it. I was like, wow, that was really clear. I could see the numbers. I could read it all. It wasn't fuzzy or foggy. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get up. And when I got up, I just walked out of bed. I didn't lift my legs to the side and just let the blood flow back down to the bottom. I didn't have furniture walk all the way to the, you know, bathroom. It was one of those like, oh shit moments. I was like, am I in a dream? And well, I went to the bathroom and then went about my day, had one of the greatest days I had in a long time. And, you know, was actually eager to share that with my wife when I got home. Normally I never want to talk about work. And so, like, this happened for like 3 or 4 days until I was like, okay, you know what? I'm feeling good enough to just try. Right. And I think that was the saddest part, was like, I stopped trying, you know?
Yeah.
That was the part that was defeating, man. That was where, like, you know, especially when someone like puts up an old picture of you and you're all, you know, you're somewhat ripped and you're just like, damn, who is that? But and I can only say that with a smile, because I did overcome all that with a lot of help and support. And I went back to the gym, and the story of the zone, or zone in. So I took, in low doses, anywhere from 10 to 20 milligrams, you know, it can have an effect of mental clarity aspect and focus, you know, or zoning in.
Yeah.
And high doses, when you get north of 60 to 70 milligrams, it can have a sedative effect, which is why a lot of people say it's for anxiety or sleep. And high doses, yes, it is.
Yeah.
I've never seen somebody that's tired be anxious. And so I took one capsule like midday, and or it was, yeah, probably right at dinner. And because I was like, I'd never taken one at night. You know, I've always taken it in the morning, and it was just doing amazing things for me. I was like, what if I took 2, right? Of course, that's just the natural thing to do. It's part of our culture, right? Well, what if I took 2? So I took a second one, and I go to lay down, and my eyes are just wide awake. And I was like, oh boy. I got my headphones. I went down to the nearest 24-hour fitness, and there was nobody in there, just me and the guy at the desk. And so I go back, put my playlist on, and I am just jamming out. I was 275 pounds, and I'm jamming out. And all of a sudden, the music stops 2 hours later, and I'm just drenched. But I've never felt better. I walk out and the guy's like, yo, man, are you all right? And I looked him square in the eye and I was like, yo, I've never felt better in my life. And he's like, yeah, I've never seen anybody shoot hoops for 2 hours by themselves. I looked at him and I said, I was in the zone, man.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, you are. And so that's my mission, is like get everybody else in the zone, get them, you know, a lot of people, they don't, I'm going to say, you're going to even some of your military friends, they're going to be like, holy shit, I never felt this good when we were kids. And that's what it's about, is, you know, tapping, going all the way through all that potential that everybody has, because you're tearing down these barriers that you naturally put up in your mind. That I did when I going to school. I was a horrible student.
Yeah.
But now I love to read, you know, write, all the stuff that I seemingly couldn't do when I was younger. Like I tried and it was terrible.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I thought I'd get better with practice, and it didn't happen. But now it's really what it is that perspective shift, fellas. And it's just trying. And once you do, you don't know until you try. And man, getting better with age, that's what it's all about. Everybody says, you know, the energy's wasted on the youth. Doesn't have to be.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah.
So you know, when the quality of life goes up, the family life goes up too. The you know, just the quality of that.
Man, I didn't realize how I was, you know, and I was there doing stuff with my kids, you know, but I didn't realize how I was letting them down, is how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just because you're physically present doesn't mean you're there for them.
Right.
That's how I was. I was there physically, but my mind and, you know, was somewhere else. And, you know, I was robbing them of years that I'm never going to get back, you know? So I'm grateful I found it when they were young.
Yeah. With the, not only the combination of, you know, the CBD that you're taking now, but as an entrepreneur, having your own business, what kind of freedom is that for you now? Since it is Entrepreneur Week, what advice would you give as a new entrepreneur, right? And one that's you know, still making it happen and a constant learner. What advice do you have for everybody?
Find something you love. And, you know, I know I said that with football, but I love helping people. I really do enjoy it. And there's nothing better in my day. Happens once or twice a day, more and more frequently now, which I'm excited about, that someone says their lives changed because they've tried the product and they didn't know how important sleep was, and they didn't know how important it was, what they put in, the food and the you know, whatever they drink, what they put into them, and even consume, you know, reading material or a show, right? And that's the best part of my day, is reading that it's affected somebody, it's moved them to be better, because I mean, that's what it's all about. So in a way, I still get to be that middle linebacker, right? Just to make my team better, but my team is now just a lot of people that hear that how this product can change lives, is changing lives, and so I'm very grateful for that. In terms of freedom, well, a startup, there's very little freedom. You can work as hard or as little as you want to, but don't be surprised if you don't have any progress. You know, but it's the challenge. I think that's the part I love the most is, you know, everybody told me if I had, you know, it would only, you know, give me a couple $1,000 for every time somebody told me I wasn't going to make the NFL.
Yeah.
It would have been more than my contract.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the part I think I love the most as a competitor is, you know, I got to share a story. There's a kid, I've been talking to a lot of, you know, high school kids right now because they're going through a situation that no one's ever been through. And so they're like, how would you handle it? And I'm like, well, God, I got to think. I don't know how I'd handle it, but I got to think that I would try to develop a plan. And I got to tell, you know, one kid, hey, you might have to go the junior college route and then transfer. You might, but you have options. They might not be ones that you like, but you have options. And if you make the best of them, you're going to have plenty more. You do what you have to do until you get to do what you want to do. And I think that's what they're not willing to do what they have to do in order to do what they want to do. And that's the biggest thing for me. I've always put in that work, no matter what it is. I don't care if I was a busboy at a restaurant, I was working at a hardware store. I did it to the best of my ability, and it always led to more options. So with that, entrepreneur life, it's not for everybody, but it is completely rewarding, especially when you're doing something you love.
Awesome. All right, Ron. So should we hit Lofa with some rapid fire here?
I think it's that time. Go ahead, brother.
All right, Lofa. You know, Pro Bowl linebacker. You're an All-Pro and everything. Did you ever get to lay a good stick on Tom Brady?
I never got to play Tom.
Really?
He was hurt the year that, Tom or Donovan McNabb. I never got to play either of those guys. They were hurt when we played them, and then I was hurt when they played us.
Yeah. All right. So here, let me ask you your best stick that you ever put on a quarterback, and who was the quarterback, and kind of describe it a little bit.
I've had a lot of other hits. Let's go with best stick on a running back. So,
okay.
Brandon Jacobs, who 6'3", 270. He was, he's a little bit
the Giants, right?
Yeah. I mean, he was a bad dude. So we had gone back and forth. I mean, they were blowing us out, but this was like personal because I'd gotten him once the year before, and then at the end of the game, he got me. And so we went back and forth. And I think if you really tally them up, I think he won the series probably 5-4.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he stiff-armed me to the ground so bad. And then, I had his forearm, and I was like, I'm taking this with me, bro. And so even though my back hit first, I pulled him down and got him down. And, he got up. He's like, oh, yeah, how'd that feel? I was like, I'm going to get you back, man. So he got a toss sweep, and just everyone cleared out. And it was him coming down this sideline and me coming from the deep middle. And I was like, this is it. And, this is where, an unstoppable force meets an immovable object or whatever.
There you go.
And we both just went sideways, almost under the bleachers. And, oh, man, I could barely see when I got up. He could barely see. But that's what it's about. It's about challenging yourself, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, and so that was one of the biggest. I'm talking, and I don't know who got who, but we both went sideways. So you caught a draw, but that was one of the most difficult fingers I could.
Awesome.
Oh man. All right. Well, so we talk about your breakout rookie year. Well, we can't talk about the on the field shenanigans without the off the field inside the locker room. So what is the worst practical joke that's ever been put on you?
What did they
or the
do?
best?
Yeah, I'm trying to think because Holmgren, he wasn't big on hazing, which
which means not a whole lot,
Yeah.
So I shaved my head, because I had long hair coming out of SC, and my dad, who was a 14-year NFL vet, he was like, they're gonna shave that shit when you get there, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna give them the satisfaction, so I shaved it myself. And then we get there the first day, and almost nobody recognized me because they were like, doesn't our guy have long hair? And then Homer goes, well, you guys know the policy on rookie hazing. There is none. And so I'm like, almost a tear just drops that I just cut off my hair for 2 years because I didn't want to give anybody else the satisfaction. So Head and Shoulders commercial, right?
That's a good one.
So, and then the last question I have for you is, what was the biggest blindside block that got put on you, and who put it on you?
Mike Sellers.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if you guys what?
Fullback?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So 6'3", 270-ish, and he could run. So it's the playoffs, and they're running the crack toss with Clinton Portis. It's a big play, and so I'm like, hey, crack toss, crack toss. They're supposed to hit the down safety or linebacker, which was Deion Grant. He went right by him. Then you got the near hook defender, which was Leroy Hill. Went right by him. The lineman's coming up to me. I give him one of these and go. And when I go, and I'm going to send you this clip. I know it's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
I just go tumbling backwards like a tumbleweed. And I get up, kind of like, what the hell just happened? And, the play's over. So, because I was going to chase the ball, but the play's over. And, like, the lineman's right there. And he's kind of looking at me like, are you okay? And I was like, bro, that wasn't shit. I was like, I'm going to be here all day. He looks at me and he goes, I didn't even hit you, man. And I see Sellers walking by just laughing. I was like, I'm going to get you back, man. Oh, man.
Yeah.
It was so clean that, like, I didn't get a concussion. I just started doing, like, backflips.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, we just got our 5-minute warning here for our wind down time here, Lofa. But just wanted to say how awesome it was to have you on the show, man. One thing that I saw that was a highlight, and that I think also transcends to our transitioning service members, and is how you talked about your time as a Seahawk. You talked about your time as a professional athlete, and I think John will agree, is that when you started talking about your new purpose, about what you're doing now with Zone In, man, the excitement that you have with that, the care and the passion of that, of this product, this business, man, it really shines, and it shows that that your best years are yet to come, right? And that was just something that's awesome to see, and you are a true example of that, my friend. Absolutely.
Man, that means the world to me to hear you say. I really appreciate it.
Hey, and Lofa, I've forgiven you for beating my beloved Carolina Panthers in the playoffs in 2005 during your guys' Super Bowl run, and how you kind of beat up on my man Steve Smith a little bit there. But you today, you spoke so genuinely from the heart. And the key thing, as Ron just described, that all of folks in the military, but also in professional sports and anything in life, it's that transition from doing what you love and then trying to retain that purpose through that transition and into your in your case, post NFL career. And how you did that is just an example for all of us. And too many times when we see people go down where they have the challenges, it's that loss of purpose through the transition phase, and they don't know how to get it back. You've just been an example for everyone, and certainly for us in the audience here. And thanks again for taking the time out of your busy schedule and coming in and giving us just a great hour here. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you guys for your service first and foremost, and for having me on. I'm happy to share my story, and anything that I could do, please just let me know. This has been amazing, and we get to go watch the Hawks now, right? We're gonna watch.
That's right.
We're gonna watch the Hawks.
Yeah, gotta go turn the game on now.
That's right. That's right.
And that's what it's all about. Is that brotherhood, man? That's
absolutely.
Yeah. So we would be remiss if we didn't give a good shout out to our main man for putting this together, Dustin Benight.
Dusty
V.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks for tuning into to the Ron and John Show, and we will see you all next week.
Thanks, Lofa. Take care. Boom.
Later, Lofa.
See you, brother.
Later, brother.
The Ron and John Show is brought to you by Veterans Lending Group, where we can assist you with all your home buying and refinance needs. Since we're licensed in all 50 states, we can ETS, PCS, or retire wherever you go. Check out our education classes at VAHomeLoanBootcamp.com for our free classes, and you can also visit our website at VeteransLendingGroup.com. Make sure to follow The Ron and John Show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Hey, folks, we hope you enjoyed our guest this week.
Thanks for tuning into The Ron and John Show, and we'll see you next week.